Captain William Elias stood alone at the large window of his ship, the EDF Resilient. He watched Earth, blue and green and beautiful, looking small against the blackness of space. But today Earth seemed even smaller because of the massive alien ships that hung in orbit above it. These ships belonged to the Galactic Council, a group made up of the oldest and most advanced alien species in the known galaxy. They had arrived without warning 3 days ago. Elias ran his hand through his graying hair. At 53, he had spent most of his life in space, working to protect Earth and its colonies. Now, everything he had worked for was in danger. "Captain, they're requesting you join the meeting," said Laura Bennett, his friend, and the ship's diplomatic officer. Her voice was tight with worry. "What's the council saying now?" Elias asked, though he already knew the answer. "The same thing. We must give them our faster-than-light drive technology and accept their guidance. If we refuse, they will cut Earth off from space travel and possibly take more severe actions." Elias felt anger rise in his chest. He had spent 20 years developing the new drive system that allowed humans to travel between stars in days instead of years. The Council feared this because humans had developed it too quickly. Other species had taken thousands of years to discover similar technology. Humans had done it in just a few centuries after discovering nuclear power. "The President is going to agree to their terms," Laura said quietly, showing Elias a message on her tablet. "Earth government is too afraid to say no. They don't understand what's really happening," Elias replied. "The Council doesn't just want our technology. They want to control our future." Laura looked around to make sure they were alone, then whispered, "I received an encrypted message from my contact in the Council. The Zenari and Meru representatives have already classified humans as a Class 1 evolutionary hazard. That's the highest threat level in their system." Elias felt cold. "Why? We've never attacked them. It's not what we've done. It's what they think we might do. They're afraid of how quickly we learn and adapt. No other young species has developed so fast. They see us as unpredictable." The ship's communication system beeped. "Captain Elias, please report to the command center for the Council transmission," a voice announced. Elias straightened his uniform. "I need to see that message from your contact." Laura nodded and sent the file to his personal device. "What are you going to do?" "The other captains are divided. Half want to give in to save Earth. The rest want to fight, even though we're outnumbered." Elias looked once more at Earth, remembering all the people living there who had no idea their freedom was about to be taken away by beings who feared human potential. "I'm going to hear what the Council has to say," he said, "but I want you to quietly send a message to all captains who might listen. Tell them to prepare their ships for possible emergency departure. And contact your source on the Council station. I need more information about their real plans." As they walked to the command center, Elias thought about the weight of his decision. If he defied the Council, he might be starting a war humanity couldn't win. If he obeyed, he would be helping to place invisible chains on every human being alive and yet to be born. The large screen in the command center flickered on, showing the face of Counselor Xen Tai, a being of glowing energy contained in a mechanical body. Its voice was calm but cold. "Captain William Elias, you will bring your vessel to the Council station orbiting your 6th planet for direct consultation. You have precisely 6 Earth hours to comply." The screen went dark before Elias could respond. "Plot a course to Jupiter," he told his navigation officer, "but be ready to change it on my command." The choice that would decide humanity's future among the stars now rested on his shoulders. The Council station orbiting Jupiter was enormous. It stretched for miles in every direction, its curved walls gleaming like polished silver. As Captain Elias stepped off the shuttle, he felt small. That was the point. The Council had designed everything about this place to make other species feel weak and insignificant. 2 tall beings with blue skin guided Elias through long hallways. Guards from various alien species watched him from every corner. After passing through 7 security checkpoints, They arrived at a massive door, carved with symbols from a dozen alien languages. "Wait here," one of the blue-skinned guides said. "The council will call for you when ready." Elias stood alone for nearly an hour. He thought about the encrypted message Laura had shared. According to her source, the council didn't just want to take human technology. They wanted to control human development completely. Other young species had already fallen under their power. Some had been guided into becoming loyal servants. Others had simply disappeared. Finally, the huge door opened. The council chamber was a vast circular room with a high ceiling that showed moving images of stars and galaxies. 12 platforms floated at different heights around the room. On each platform sat a representative of one of the oldest species in the galaxy. Elias was directed to stand in the center, under the bright light that shone down from above. "William Elias of Earth," announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere. "You stand before the Galactic Council as representative of humanity." "Where are our government officials?" Elias asked. "I was told Earth's leaders would be present." Counselor Xentai, the glowing energy being in its mechanical shell, spoke. "They are being accommodated elsewhere for their safety. Humans are too new to space travel to understand proper council protocol." Elias noticed how several council members looked at each other. They were lying. Humanity is charged with accelerated technological development beyond evolutionary norms, continued Xentai. "Your species has developed faster than light travel only 200 years after discovering nuclear energy. This pace is dangerously abnormal." A large creature that looked like a six-legged lizard spoke next. "You are also charged with aggressive exploration patterns. Human ships have entered 57 star systems in just 30 years. And cultural contamination risk," added another council member, this one floating in a water tank. 3 less developed species have already been exposed to human ideas." "These are not crimes," Elias said firmly. "We explore because we're curious. We develop technology to improve our lives. And we share ideas because communication is valuable." He showed them images of Earth's achievements, art, music, cities where millions lived peacefully together. "Humans are capable of great things," he argued. "We want to be friends with other species, not enemies." Several council members shifted uncomfortably. One smaller alien leaned forward with interest. But Xentai and the lizard-like being remained cold and unmoved. "The council will recess to consider," Xentai announced. "You will remain on the station." As the council members left, a human woman approached Elias. She had dark hair streaked with gray, and wore the simple clothes of the few humans who worked with alien species. "Captain Elias, I'm Kate Donovan, xenanthropologist. I've been studying council species for 15 years. She glanced around and lowered her voice. "We need to talk somewhere private." She led him to a small garden area meant for meditation. After checking that no one could hear them, she spoke quickly. "The council isn't telling the truth. They fear humans for something beyond our technology. It's our adaptability and imagination that terrifies them." "But why?" Elias asked. "The council species are ancient and stable. They develop slowly and predictably. Humans change and grow rapidly. We solve problems in ways they cannot predict." She paused. "And they've done this before. I found records of at least 7 species the council has contained or eliminated because they developed too quickly." Elias felt cold. "What are they planning for us?" "Something they call guided development. But it's really the slow death of human potential." Kate's eyes were worried. "And your Earth government has already agreed to most of their demands." The future of humanity now seemed darker than the space between galaxies. Elias and Kate hurried through the less-used corridors of the council station. They had just learned terrible news. Council ships were already moving to surround all human colonies with permanent blockades. Worse, Earth's leaders had signed an agreement giving up humanity's right to expand further into space in exchange for council technology. "They sold our future," Elias said, his voice tight with anger. How could they agree to this? They were promised advanced medicine and clean energy, Kate explained. Things that would make life better on Earth right now, but they don't understand the price. They turned a corner and found two council guards waiting. The taller one held up a device that glowed with red light. "Captain William Elias, your diplomatic status has been revoked," the guard announced. "You are scheduled for cognitive adjustment due to dangerous thought patterns." "Cognitive adjustment," Elias whispered to Kate. "They change how your brain works," she whispered back. "You'll still look like yourself, but you won't question the council anymore." Elias reached slowly for the small weapon hidden in his boot, but before he could grab it, a thin being with pale skin stepped between them and the guards. "Counselor requests immediate presence," the pale being said to the guards in broken human language. "Follow now." The guards looked confused but stepped aside. The pale being led Elias and Kate quickly down a side passage. Once they were far enough away, he spoke. "I am Merrick, aide to the Novan representative. We must hurry. More guards will come soon." "Why are you helping us?" Elias asked as they rushed through the station. "My people were once like yours," Merrick said sadly. "Quick to learn, eager to explore. Then the council guided us. For 3,000 years, we have been servant species. I will not watch it happen again." Merrick led them to a small hangar where emergency shuttles were kept. He quickly entered codes to open one of the ships. "This shuttle has enough fuel to reach your Jupiter moon Europa. You must hide there until your people can send help." Alarms began to sound throughout the station. "They know you are escaping," Merrick said. "Go now." As Elias and Kate boarded the shuttle, Merrick handed them a small data device. "Council plans for Earth. Tell your people." The shuttle launched into space just as guards burst into the hangar. Through the viewport, Elias saw council ships moving to block their escape. One fired a strange weapon that seemed to bend space itself. The shuttle shook violently. "Their weapons are beyond anything we have," Kate said, gripping her seat as Elias piloted the shuttle away from the station. "But I know something they don't," Elias replied. He pulled out a small device he had built himself and attached it to the shuttle's communication system. "This uses a protocol I developed that the council can't track or intercept." He quickly recorded a message explaining everything they had learned about the council's true intentions. He sent it to every ship in Earth's small fleet using his special communication method. "Will they believe you?" Kate asked. "Some will, others won't, but they need to know the truth." A council ship fired again, this time hitting the shuttle directly. Control panels sparked and smoke filled the cabin. Elias struggled with the controls as the shuttle tumbled toward Europa's icy surface. "Brace for impact," he shouted as they plunged through Europa's thin atmosphere. The shuttle crashed hard, skidding across ice before coming to rest. Emergency systems kept them alive, but the ship was badly damaged. "We need to get out before they find us," Kate said, helping Elias out of his seat. His arm was bleeding. "The ice here is kilometers thick, but there's an ocean underneath," Elias said, checking the shuttle scanners. "And I'm picking up readings of an artificial structure below us." "Human?" Kate asked, surprised. "I don't know, but it's our only chance." Elias grabbed emergency supplies as warning indicators showed council ships entering orbit above them. "We need to find a way through the ice before they send down search teams." They stepped out onto Europa's frozen surface, the massive form of Jupiter filling half the sky above them, and began searching for a way to reach whatever waited below the ice. Elias and Kate had spent 3 days beneath Europa's ice. They had found an entrance to the structure, an abandoned research station built by humans 20 years ago, but kept secret from the public. The station was cold and dark, running on minimal emergency power, but it kept them alive. "Look at this," Kate said, pointing to old computer files they had managed to access. "This station wasn't built to study Europa's ocean. It was built because they found something here." Elias read the files with growing surprise. First contact wasn't with the council at all. It was with a species that left technology here, under the ice. But these records say they were wiped out by the council. A loud noise echoed through the station. They froze, listening. It came again, a metallic knocking sound from the airlock at the far end of the main corridor. "They found us," Kate whispered, reaching for the emergency weapon they had salvaged from the shuttle. The airlock hissed open. Elias grabbed a metal pipe, ready to fight. But instead of Council forces, a single human in a dark spacesuit stepped through. Captain Elias, Dr. Donovan. The figure removed his helmet, revealing a man with a thin face and serious eyes. "Commander Alan Foster, EDF Shadowrunner. We picked up your emergency beacon." Elias lowered the pipe with relief. "The Shadowrunner. That's a stealth frigate. How did you find us?" "Your broadcast reached us," Foster explained. "Most of the fleet received it, and it caused quite a stir. Some captains surrendered to the Council immediately. Others have gone dark, disappearing from official channels." He smiled slightly. "We decided to come get you." As they gathered their few belongings and the data they had discovered, Foster explained more. "Your old friend Richard Dawson has established a hidden base in the Kuiper Belt. He's gathering ships and people who refuse to submit to the Council. They're calling it Haven." "How many ships have joined?" Elias asked as they made their way through the airlock and into Foster's small shuttle. 26 Earth vessels so far, plus something you won't believe. Ships from 3 non-human species have joined us. The Novans, the Melosians, and the Vex. They say they've all suffered under Council restrictions and see our resistance as their chance for freedom too." The shuttle rose through the ice tunnel that Foster's crew had melted. Above, the Shadowrunner waited, its dark hull designed to absorb sensor scans rather than reflect them. Once aboard, Elias was stunned to see how young most of the crew were. Many seemed barely out of training. "We had to leave half our crew behind," Foster explained. "They had families on Earth or colonies. Couldn't risk it." For 5 days, the Shadowrunner traveled carefully through the outer solar system, avoiding Council patrols. Elias spent the time studying the data from Europa and planning. He didn't want to lead a rebellion. He still hoped for a peaceful solution. "We're approaching Haven," announced the ship's navigator. Through the viewport, Elias saw dozens of ships clustered around a collection of connected habitats and docking facilities. Some were military vessels, but others were clearly converted civilian ships. As they docked, Richard Dawson was waiting. Though nearly 60, he still looked strong, with broad shoulders and hands calloused from years of engineering work. "Will," he said, using Elias's first name as he clasped his hand firmly. "When I got your message, I knew the Council would come after you. Glad you made it. I wasn't trying to start a war, Rich," Elias said quietly. "None of us were, but the Council isn't giving us much choice." He gestured around at the bustling activity in the hangar. "These people all heard your message. They came because you spoke the truth." A sudden alarm blared throughout the station. Everyone froze. "Multiple ships entering detection range," announced a voice over the speakers. "Council signatures confirmed." Dawson's face hardened. "They found us. Everyone to battle stations." Elias watched in horror as screens showed Council vessels approaching. Dozens of them, far more advanced than anything in the human fleet. "How did they find this place?" Kate asked, her voice tense. "It doesn't matter now," Dawson said grimly. "What matters is what we do next." He turned to Elias. "These people followed you once. They'll do it again. What's your call, Captain?" With all eyes on him, Elias knew the future of humanity now rested on his next decision. The battle for Haven was short but fierce. Council ships used weapons that bent space and time, creating strange distortions that tore 3 human vessels apart. Elias had ordered all civilian ships to flee while military vessels provided cover. His quick thinking saved many lives, but Haven was lost. 2 weeks later, the remaining ships of what they now called the Free Systems Alliance gathered in an uncharted nebula. The gas and dust provided some protection from Council scanners. Elias worked closely with engineers from multiple species to improve their ships. Even with these modifications, we're still badly outmatched, said Richard Dawson, wiping grease from his hands after installing a new control system in the Shadowrunner's engine room. That's why we can't win by fighting their way, Elias replied. We need to find an advantage they don't expect. Kate Donovan entered the engine room, holding a data tablet. Her eyes were bright with excitement. I've been studying the records we found on Europa, plus information from our non-human allies, she said. I think I found something important. She showed them her research. The council species all had extremely long lifespans, tens of thousands of years. Over time, their brains had developed in ways that made them stable and logical, but less creative. They relied heavily on artificial intelligence to solve problems. Humans have shorter lives, so we evolved to adapt quickly and think creatively, Kate explained. Our neural patterns are completely different from council species. Their AI systems can't predict how we think. Elias looked at the FTL drive design he had created, the invention that had started all this trouble. So that's why they fear our technology. It works on principles they never explored because they couldn't imagine them. Exactly, Kate said. And we can use this difference as a weapon. They spent days developing battle strategies that no council eye could anticipate. Human pilots practiced impossible maneuvers that relied on intuition rather than calculation. Engineers modified their FTL drives to create interference fields that disrupted council weapons. Meanwhile, Hannah Elliott, a communications specialist with bright red hair and quiet determination, managed to establish contact with Earth through old relay beacons the council thought were broken. The news was both good and bad. Resistance on Earth is growing, she reported. As council restrictions get tighter, more people are fighting back. Several defense bases have gone rogue, but the council is responding with harsher measures. Elias's plan was taking shape. Instead of hiding or fighting small battles they couldn't win, they would strike directly at the council's main shipyard in the Rigel system. It was a bold move that the council would never expect from an outmatched force. It's practically suicide, Foster said when Elias explained the plan. But I can't think of a better option. As they prepared for the attack, an unexpected visitor arrived. A small ship docked with the command vessel, and a council scientist requested to speak with Elias. The alien, a slender being with 4 arms and iridescent skin, introduced herself as Talia. I have studied thousands of species, Talia told them. The council believes uniformity brings safety, but I believe diversity brings strength. That is why I am here. She brought crucial information. The council's entire communication and defense network used quantum entanglement technology that had remained unchanged for millennia. This made it vulnerable to interference from the specific field generated by human FTL drives. With modifications, you could disrupt their entire network, Talia explained. It would be temporary, but it might give you the advantage you need. As engineers worked to implement Talia's suggestions, Elias addressed the gathered fleet. Ships of 4 different species hovered in the nebula, their lights glowing through the colorful gas. Tomorrow we take the fight to the council, he said, his voice carried to all vessels. Not just for humanity, but for the freedom of all species to determine their own future. The crews cheered, but Elias felt the heavy weight of responsibility. If his plan failed, it wouldn't just be the end of human independence. It would crush the hopes of every species that dared to stand with them. The battle at Rigel began at dawn, measured by the system's bright blue star. The Free Systems Alliance fleet dropped out of FTL travel just outside the massive council shipyards. Elias gave the order, and their ships began the attack using the tactics no council eye could predict. Ships appeared and disappeared through micro-jumps, attacking from impossible angles. Modified FTL fields disrupted council weapons, causing them to fire harmlessly into empty space. For the first time, council commanders faced an enemy whose moves they could not calculate in advance. From the bridge of the Resilient, now his command ship, Elias watched the battle unfold. Group 3, execute pattern Sigma, he ordered. 4 human ships broke formation, seemingly retreating in disorder. Council vessels pursued, only to find themselves surrounded when the human ships suddenly reversed course using a maneuver that violated standard space combat logic. "It's working," Kate said, standing beside him. "Their ships are responding too slowly. Their AI can't adapt to our unpredictability." But the Council's ships still had superior firepower. When they did manage to hit their targets, the damage was devastating. 3 Alliance vessels exploded in bright flashes as Council weapons tore through their shields. "We're losing too many ships," Richard Dawson reported from engineering. "We need to disable their main control network now." This was the most dangerous part of the plan. Elias would leave a small team to board the construct, the massive station controlling the shipyard, and upload a virus designed to temporarily disable the quantum entanglement network. "Prepare the strike team," Elias ordered. "Commander Foster, you have command of the fleet while I'm gone." 6 volunteers joined Elias on the boarding shuttle. Kate, who understood Council systems better than anyone. Dawson, who would handle the technical aspects. And 4 soldiers from different species who had all suffered under Council rule. Their shuttle slipped through the chaos of battle, using the confusion to approach the construct undetected. They docked at an emergency airlock that Talia had identified as having minimal security. Inside, they moved quickly through dimly lit corridors. The construct was largely automated, with few Council members actually present, but sophisticated security systems detected them almost immediately. Robotic guards converged on their position. "Keep moving toward the central control chamber," Elias shouted as they fought their way deeper into the station. "We don't have much time." 2 of their team fell to the robot's weapons. A third was badly wounded but insisted they continue without him. After the battle at Riel, the Alliance retreated to a new hiding place, an artificial pocket of subspace created using technology adapted from captured Council ships. Here, they could rest and recover while remaining undetectable to Council scanners. Elias was hailed as a hero, but he found little comfort in their victory. The modified ship Defiance slipped through space like a ghost, traveling paths the Council believed impossible to navigate. Captain Elias stood on the bridge, watching as strange energies flowed around the hull. Each jump took them closer to the Council homeworld, but damaged the ship further. "The drive won't survive more than 2 more jumps," reported Sam Griffin, the young engineer who had taken over after Dawson's death. His hands were burned from constantly repairing overheated systems. Beside Elias stood Kate, Foster, and 3 specialists from different species. They were the only crew, a small team for a nearly impossible mission. "We won't need more than 2 jumps," Elias replied. "1 to reach the Council homeworld, and 1 to escape, if we're lucky." After 17 days of dangerous travel, they arrived at the galaxy's core. The Council homeworld was not a planet, but a massive artificial structure orbiting a dying star. It was shaped like a vast wheel with spokes connecting to a central hub that glowed with strange light. "No defenses are targeting us," Foster said with surprise as they approached. They truly believed no ship could reach this place through the paths we traveled. They docked at an unused maintenance port. The team moved carefully through ancient corridors that seemed built for beings much larger than any modern species. The air smelled old, like dust that had not been disturbed for thousands of years. Following the information Talia had provided, they'd reached the central chamber where the governing AI was housed. What they found was not what they expected. Instead of machines, the chamber contained thousands of glowing orbs floating in a vast room. "These aren't computers," Kate whispered in awe. "They're minds. The precursors uploaded their consciousness rather than face extinction." Before they could process this discovery, the orbs began to pulse with light. A figure appeared before them, not solid, but made of flowing energy that constantly changed shape. "We have been watching you, William Elias of Earth," the figure said in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere. "You are the first beings to reach this place in 15,000 years. You're the AI that controls the Council," Elias said, stepping forward. "We are not an artificial intelligence. We are the survivors of the war that nearly destroyed all life in this galaxy. We created the Council to ensure such destruction never happens again. Elias activated the device they had brought, the disruptor based on human FTL principles. But instead of attacking the entity, he did something unexpected. He modified the field to connect rather than disrupt. "I want you to see something," Elias said. "Not just facts and data, but experience it as we do." The modified field created a direct link between the ancient consciousness and the minds of all present, human and alien alike. Through this connection, the entity experienced their hopes, fears, creativity, and determination. Most importantly, it felt their desire for freedom and self-determination. The chamber shook as the entity processed these new experiences. The orbs pulsed rapidly with changing colors. "We have been isolated," the entity finally said. "For 50,000 years, we have guided the galaxy according to our fear of change and innovation. We forgot what it means to grow, to discover, to create." On view screens around the chamber, they saw council ships preparing to activate the temporal stasis weapons against Earth. With a simple thought, the entity halted them. "The council structure has become corrupted," it declared. "It no longer serves life, but controls it. This was never our intention." The entity sent a signal across the galaxy, bypassing the council representatives and connecting directly with all species. The truth about the galaxy's history and the Council's manipulations spread instantly to every world. In the following days, the Council structure collapsed as member species withdrew their support. A new galactic assembly began forming, with representation based on contribution rather than age or technology. Elias and his team returned to human space as heroes. The temporal stasis weapons were dismantled, and Earth joined the new assembly as an equal member. Humanity's rapid development and creativity were now seen as strengths rather than threats. When offered leadership positions in both the new assembly and Earth's government, Elias surprised everyone by declining. Instead, he chose to captain a new ship, the Defiant I, dedicated to true exploration beyond known space. On the day of their departure, Kate joined him on the bridge as his second in command. Foster and many others from the original mission had signed on as crew. "You could have had power, influenced the direction of this new alliance," Kate said as they prepared for launch. Elias looked out at the stars, which now seemed full of promise rather than threat. "Our greatest strength was never our technology," he replied. "It was our willingness to defy overwhelming odds for the right to determine our own future. That spirit of exploration and discovery is who we are." He gave the order, and the Defiant's Eye moved away from Earth, beginning a journey not just for humanity, but for all species now freed from the chains of the past. Together, they would forge a future where cooperation and diversity of thought were recognized as strengths, not dangers to be controlled. The stars waited, and for the first time in 50,000 years, the galaxy was truly alive with possibility.